Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are wading into what might be the modern parent's most intense, high-stakes battlefield, childhood enrichment.
It's a minefield.
It really is. I mean, we are so far beyond asking if you should enroll your kid or something. The real question, the one we're wrestling with, is this complex optimization problem.
It's exactly what the science calls it. It's a total high-wire act. We've moved past this old-fashioned idea that development is just inevitable, that it just happens.
Right.
Modern science sees the child as an active agent in an enrichment ecology.
Yeah.
Your whole mission, really, is alignment, matching the activity to the child's readiness.
And if you mess that up, if you push too soon or push the wrong thing, the cost can be absolutely catastrophic. We're talking burnout, or worse, creating a lifelong psychological aversion to something you desperately wanted them to love.
That's the danger. And readiness, it's not one thing, it's a trifecta we have to break down. You've got neurological readiness, is the brain's hardware even installed? Then physiological, does the body have the muscle and bone capacity? And finally, the psychological piece. Can they handle the rules, the frustration, the focus required?
So today, we've gathered all the evidence to give you a roadmap. A real evidence-based guide for timing and selection from infancy all the way up to age 9. Let's start with the biology.
The biological imperative, yeah.
Okay, let's get into it. Because before you drop hundreds of dollars on a class, you have to understand the brain's construction schedule. The research kept coming back to these sensitive periods, these windows of opportunity that are only open for so long.
Think of it like a factory being built at a ridiculous speed. For the first 3 years, it's just this massive, almost reckless construction boom called synaptogenesis.
Synaptogenesis.
The brain is creating connections at a pace that's, frankly, insane. By age 3, a child's brain has almost double the synaptic connections of your adult brain. It is peak plasticity.
The ultimate sponge, just soaking it all in.
Everything. But that chaos, that hyperconnectivity, it's not efficient, and it can't last. So it's followed by a process that sounds kind of brutal, synaptic tuning.
It sounds terrifying.
It does, but it's essential. The brain literally starts eliminating the weak or unused connections to streamline the whole system, making the remaining pathways super fast.
Which is why timing is everything.
It's everything. Activities that rely on basic sensory stuff, like hearing the subtle pitch differences in music or the phonemic awareness for language, they benefit exponentially from being introduced during that hyper-connected phase.
So the lesson is, if you want your kid to have a truly great ear for music or language, you expose them early before the brain starts, cleaning house.
Precisely. And this is where so many of us fall into the trap of developmental mismatch. You try to teach something that requires high-level strategy or delaying gratification.
Things that run on the prefrontal cortex.
Exactly. High-level software. But the hardware, the prefrontal cortex, is one of the very last parts of the brain to fully mature.
So trying to teach a 4-year-old chess strategy is like trying to run a 4K video file on a computer from 1995.
Perfect analogy. The hardware just can't process it. All you get is frustration, anxiety, and a kid who wants nothing to do with chess ever again.
And this timeline isn't just in the brain, right? It's physical, too.
Oh, absolutely. The physical laws are immutable. It's cephalocaudal and proximal-distal.
Head to toe and center out.
Exactly. The big muscles in the torso and limbs develop first. So gross motor stuff, running, jumping, tumbling, that's perfectly aligned for that 2 to 5-year-old window. But if you try to force high fine motor precision like traditional violin lessons before age 6,
you're fighting their biology.
You're literally fighting the development schedule of the small bones in their hands. You have to adapt the teaching massively to even make it viable.
Okay, that brings us right to the physical domain, and we have to start with the highest stakes activity there is, swimming. It's the only one that's a literal life-saving intervention.
And the field is split right down the middle. On one side, you have these survival-centric methods like Infant Swimming Resource or ISR. They are intense.
Very intense.
They teach babies, some as young as 6 months old, to reflexively roll onto their backs and float. And look, the safety proponents have some compelling data.
But the controversy is huge. I know so many parents who just agonize over the ethics of it.
And they should. It's a valid concern. Critics, including many pediatricians, worry about the potential for trauma. The training often involves repeated, induced distress, putting the baby underwater to trigger that survival reflex.
And the debate is whether you're creating a water phobia in the long term to solve a short-term safety risk.
That's the core of it.
Yeah.
So if you want the safest, lowest stress path, What does the American Academy of Pediatrics say?
What's the guidance?
The guidance is pretty clear. Lessons are great for kids age 1 to 4, but, and this is a huge but, they do not, under any circumstances, replace direct, constant supervision.
They're not drown-proofing your child.
Not at all. And true stroke competency, like a front crawl where you have to lift and turn your head to breathe, that's biomechanically almost impossible before age 4 or 5. So for toddlers, the goal should just be water happiness, bonding, getting comfortable.
All right, let's get out of the pool and onto the gym mat. The sources were almost unanimous on this. Early gymnastics is the premier activity for preschoolers. Why?
Because it's a full-body neurological reset. It hammers the ABCs, agility, balance, and coordination. These are the building blocks for every other sport they will ever play.
And the key mechanism is the vestibular system, right?
Yes, the inner ear. All that spinning, rolling, and going upside down is intensely stimulating that system. It's your body's internal GPS.
And why does that matter for, say, learning to read later?
Because a well-developed vestibular system allows a child to regulate their body in space. If it's underdeveloped, they can't process where they are, they fidget, they can't sit still, they struggle to focus in a classroom. Gymnastics basically builds the neurological foundation for self-regulation.
That is fascinating, that the ability to sit still and focus is built by rolling around as a toddler.
It absolutely is. And there's another massive benefit. Gymnastics teaches the art of falling.
How to fall safely.
Yes, how to tuck your chin and roll. It's a skill that absorbs impact and drastically reduces the risk of injury in pretty much every future sport. It's a protective skill for life.
Which leads us right into the societal pressure cooker, early team sports. The minute your kid can run, there's a soccer league brochure in your hand. But the science says this is just a terrible idea.
It's a complete developmental mismatch. For kids 3 to 6, you hit 2 huge non-negotiable barriers. First, the cognitive one. They are profoundly egocentric. They're in Piaget's pre-operational stage.
So they can't grasp the idea of a teammate.
Not in any abstract way. They can't imagine a strategic formation or see the open man. That's why you get
The famous beehive soccer.
beehive soccer. Every kid swarms the ball because in their universe, only they and the ball exist. True team play with rules and roles. You need to wait until they're 7 or older in the concrete operational stage.
But what if you see a flash of real talent at age 5? The pressure to get them into a specialized program is just, it's intense.
And that's the myth we have to just demolish. The data is overwhelming on this. Early specialization, one sport year-round before age 10 or 12 is linked to absolutely devastating outcomes.
Like what?
Higher rates of overuse injuries, for one, psychological burnout, and ironically, a higher rate of quitting the sport altogether. The consensus is for early sampling. Let them try everything.
So for the little ones, just stick to skills clinics. Kicking, running, no competitive leagues.
Exactly. Keep it fun and fundamental.
Excellent. Let's pivot to the cognitive domain, music. The research calls it the supreme cognitive scaffolding.
Music is incredible because of something called FAR transfer. Structured music training, it's all about pattern recognition, rhythm, intense focus. It literally rewires the brain.
So tell me practically, what does that mean? How does learning piano help with, say, math?
It means the skills transfer. The ability to quickly translate symbols notes on a page into physical action improves verbal memory, reading comprehension, and key executive functions like attention control.
But the methodology matters, right? We have the Suzuki method versus something like ORF.
A huge difference in commitment. Suzuki, which can start at age 3, is a mastery model. It's learning by ear, but it requires this massive parental involvement. The Suzuki triangle.
It's a lifestyle.
It is. It's technical and demanding. Or for Del Crow's, on the other hand, are experiential. They're movement-based, creative, and just more integrated with play.
Yeah.
One is for early technical proficiency. The other is for joyful expression.
Okay, let's talk about second languages, the critical period. How effective is that typical 45-minute-a-week Spanish class?
To be blunt, it's cultural enrichment. It is not fluency acquisition. For true functional bilingualism, the kind that gives you that cognitive edge, you need immersion.
How much immersion?
We're talking more than half of the child's day operating in that second language. That's what builds the cognitive muscle that leads to better reading and math scores later on.
It's the constant code switching that builds the processing power.
Exactly. It's a full-time brain workout.
And what about the big one for today's parents? Coding. How do you teach computational thinking to a 4-year-old without violating every screen time rule?
The answer is screen-free computational thinking.
Yeah.
You don't use a screen. Syntax-based coding is just completely inappropriate for that age.
So what do you use?
You use tactile tools, Things like Cubeto or Bebot, these little programmable robots, or even just advanced block sets. You teach them sequencing, algorithms, and debugging with their hands.
So you're building the logical foundation for coding without the screen.
You're building the cognitive precursor. They learn the logic of computation itself. Then, around age 8, when their brains are ready for that abstraction, they can transition to formal coding seamlessly.
That's a brilliant solution. Okay, let's move to the domains that build our internal world: emotional intelligence and resilience.
First up is visual arts. And here, the distinction between process art and product art is everything.
Okay, what's the difference?
Process art is the gold standard for ages 2 to 6. It's all about the experience, the feeling of the clay, the way the paints mix. It's sensory, it's creative, it builds fine motor skills.
As opposed to the classic craft project, the let's all make the same turkey out of a paper plate.
That is product art. And it's basically a lesson in compliance. It's about matching the adult's model. Glue the eyes here. And when the kid's work doesn't match, it creates frustration and kills their natural expression. You want an atelier, a studio environment where they can just experiment freely.
And what about drama?
Drama is an empathy powerhouse. It's the best tool we have for developing theory of mind, the ability to actually simulate what another person is thinking and feeling.
A safe lab for emotions.
A perfect lab. Through role play, they can act out being angry and then immediately act out calming down, literally building the neural pathways for self-management.
And mindfulness for preschoolers, is that really a thing?
It is, but it's not about sitting silently on a cushion. It's narrative-based, it's kinesthetic. Structured yoga and mindfulness stories activate the parasympathetic nervous system. It teaches them, on a physiological level, how to calm their own internal storm.
Okay, this all leads to the final critical question for parents. How much is too much? The returns on this stuff follow a bell curve, don't they?
They absolutely do. And the research gives us a pretty clear threshold. We're talking about approximately 20 hours of structured activity per week.
Yeah.
And that includes their time in school.
20 hours, that's probably a lot less than many people think.
It is. Beyond that point, the benefits start to drop off a cliff. You see higher stress, lower creativity. The brain needs downtime to consolidate all this learning.
And this brings us to the profound necessity of boredom. It feels so counterintuitive to a parent who wants to enrich.
It's non-negotiable for developing autonomy. A truly bored child is forced to look inward to generate their own entertainment, their own direction. That is a pure, powerful exercise of executive function.
Whereas an overscheduled child just becomes dependent on the next thing.
Completely dependent on external stimulation. They lose their internal agency. We are so afraid of them falling behind that we accidentally prevent them from learning how to lead themselves.
The ultimate paradox. Okay, let's wrap this up. Give us the concise, phased roadmap one last time.
Phase 1, ages 0 to 3, sensory motor foundation. All about secure attachment, parent-child swim classes for fun, maybe a music class like kinder music. Avoid anything with strict discipline.
Phase 2.
Ages 3 to 5, the exploratory presage. This is all about physical literacy. Get them in gymnastics, process art, creative movement, those screen-free logic games. Avoid formal ballet, avoid team sports leagues.
And finally, phase 3, where all that foundational work starts to pay off.
Ages 6 to 9, the technical transition. Now they're ready. This is the time for formal music lessons, martial arts, trying out a bunch of different team sports. Their internal hardware can finally handle the rigorous software.
This whole deep dive really forces us to confront this tension between our societal ambition for our kids and the slow, deliberate reality of their neurobiology.
The optimal strategy isn't about rushing them into adult-like training. It's about providing these exquisitely timed, age-appropriate experiences that respect the brain's biological clock. Patience is the ultimate enrichment.
So here is the provocative thought we want to leave you with. As you look at your family's calendar, ask yourself this. If all the data shows that unstructured, free, play-real boredom is vital for creativity and executive function, how are you actively, intentionally protecting that time? Are you brave enough to resist the pressure, to cancel something, and to let your child be truly, powerfully, autonomously bored? Think about that empty space. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.